For as long as I can remember, we've all been told the same story about success. It's simple, right? Work hard, get a good education, and you can climb to the very top. But what if that story is missing a huge piece of the puzzle? What if what you know is really only half the equation? We all think of economic mobility like climbing a ladder. And for the longest time, education has been seen as the main way, maybe the only way to get up those rungs. But today, we're going to dig into some research that asks a pretty critical question. Is what you know the only thing that gets you ahead, or is it also who you know? So let's start with what we all kind of assume to be true, this idea of the American ladder. For decades, the foundational belief in America has been that education is the great equalizer. It's the engine that lets anyone from any background climb up that economic ladder. And look, this isn't just some feel-good story we tell ourselves. It's a huge part of public policy. The Urban Institute puts it perfectly. They say education is seen as this tool to level the playing field. And not just for the person getting the degree, but for their kids and their kids' kids. It's a multi-generational boost. Okay, so if education is supposed to be this silver bullet, why does so much inequality still exist? Well, it turns out the link between getting schooled and getting ahead is way more complicated than we thought. Yeah, when you actually dig into the research, the picture gets, well, a lot messier. Not all education has the same effect. And the data shows that how much it helps you move up really depends on when you get it and what kind it is. And the details here are really fascinating. So preschool, it gives kids a great head start for sure. But those early gains in thinking skills often fade out over time. What about K-12 schools? Better quality definitely helps with future earnings, but even the experts disagree on exactly how much. And job training is a mixed bag too. Programs for young people, they often show pretty limited results. But similar training for adults, that seems way more effective. The debate even gets into college. You'd think money is the #1 thing stopping people from going, right? Well, believe it or not, scholars are totally split. Some studies find that family income has almost no significant effect on whether someone goes to college. Others say, no, it definitely plays a role, even if it's a modest one. The point is, it's not a settled science. So this all leads us to a huge, huge question. If education, what we call human capital, isn't the whole answer, if it's not the complete engine of mobility we thought it was, then what else is going on? What are we missing here? Well, a whole bunch of new research says the answer lies in a totally different kind of asset. It's one that's not about what's in your head, but about who is in your life. And that asset has a name: social capital. Simply put, it's the value you get from your social networks. It's that whole web of relationships, your friends, your mentors, your old colleagues, that you can tap into for support, for information, and for opportunities you'd never find on your own. So how does this actually work? Well, social capital kind of comes in 3 main flavors. First, you've got bonding capital. That's your tight-knit circle, people who are a lot like you. They give you that sense of belonging. Then there's bridging capital. This is huge. It's your connections to different social circles, the people who can tell you about a job opening in a totally different industry. And finally, there's linking capital. This connects you up the ladder to people in positions of power who can help you get access to resources. Okay, so how much does this stuff really matter for getting ahead? Is it just a nice to have? Well, some absolutely groundbreaking research just came out that puts a number on it. And frankly, the results are staggering. A team led by Harvard economist Raj Chetty analyzed the social networks of millions of people. And their big finding was stunning, something they call economic connectedness, which is just a fancy way of saying the number of friends you have from different economic classes is one of the single strongest predictors of whether a person can climb out of poverty. It's not a bonus, it's essential. So if these cross-class friendships are so powerful, why are they so rare? Chetty's research points to 2 big culprits. The first one is obvious: a lack of exposure. We tend to live, work, and go to school in bubbles. But the second reason is even more powerful. It's something called friending bias. That's our deep, almost automatic tendency to stick with people who are just like us, even when we are in diverse places. And you have to hear this. The researchers figured out that this friending bias is so strong that even if you could wave a magic wand and perfectly integrate every neighborhood and school in America, it would still account for a whopping half of the social disconnection we see. 50%. That's just wild. All right, so if fringing bias and lack of exposure are the problem, what's the solution? The good news is the research shows we can actually be intentional about this. We can design spaces and institutions to help build those bridges. And it points to 3 really promising strategies. First, changing how we group people. So instead of tracking students by academics, some schools are creating smaller, intentionally diverse house communities, and it's working. Second, just restructuring our spaces. One university used a simple behavioral nudge. They just told students most of their peers are happy to help someone out, and it encouraged more people to take social risks and make friends. And third, creating brand new places for people to interact, like a gym that on purpose brings different groups together through its training programs. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it becomes clear we've been focused on only half of the mobility equation. Human capital, your skills, your knowledge, it's absolutely crucial. But it's just not enough on its own without social capital, your network, to open up the doors. When you put them